Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
You told us on Monday because we asked you whether any other hard drives crash. This is unbelievable. You told us on May that you were going to give us all of Lois Lerner's emails, and you learned in February that this crashed.
I did not learn in February it was a crash, and we told you on Monday.
I'm not asking you a question. I'm just making a statement.
My apologies.
You are the Internal Revenue Service. You can reach into the lives of hardworking taxpayers, and with a phone call, an email, or a letter, you can turn their lives upside down. You asked taxpayers to hang on to 7 years of their personal tax information in case they're ever audited, and you can't keep 6 months worth of employee emails?
All right, there you go. That's going to live, my friends, for a long, long time. And joining us now to talk about this this whole, well, it's more than a mess. Jeff Bergner, a columnist at the Weekly Standard. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. Now tell the folks, you worked in our fine federal government, correct?
I did indeed. I worked in the Senate for a number of years and then at the State Department.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to get that on the record so people could know who they're listening to here. All right, you say that we are way beyond, this is as some kind of a political targeting issue, which it most probably is. But you're saying that we are in the middle of a massive political cover-up, which hints strongly at destruction of records and obstruction of justice.
Well, we clearly have a political cover-up going on here. There's no doubt about that. It is beyond coincidence that emails conveniently have crashed of all of the folks, or at least many of the folks that have been involved, both in Cincinnati and in Washington, in the whole tax-exempt scandal. Since the time I wrote a little piece a couple of weeks ago, it's been determined that more than 6 hard drives have crashed. In fact, it may be more like 20. And so each week, under pressure from different quarters, whether it's the Congress or whether it's the 2 different judges that are now looking into this situation in the IRS, under pressure, slowly, drip by drip, the IRS is forced to change its story over and over and over again.
I know you're calling for a special prosecutor. You did in your fine piece. Do you realistically think we're going to get a special prosecutor?
No, I don't. I think the Eric Holder Justice Department is unlikely to appoint a special prosecutor. You will recall their response to this whole scandal in the first place was to set up an internal investigation, which was to be run by an attorney there named Barbara Bosserman, who conveniently turned out to be a Barack Obama donor. This was in January of this year, and we are now close to August. We are 8 months later, and needless to say, we haven't heard one word of what this internal investigation, quote unquote, might have turned up, because I think the fact is that it's not going to turn up anything.
Right. Well, Jeff, you know, this Justice Department still has the investigation, civil rights investigation into George Zimmerman active, I think a year or more after his verdict, but that's a whole nother story.
Sure.
You talk about, you know, and you start your great piece by saying, hey, you know, if you're ever audited by the IRS, here's you know what you have to bring, but here's the people you're going to be going to. Here's the organization you're going to be stepping inside of, and they will sit in judgment of you. And you really don't paint a pretty picture at all. I think Americans really need to be even more worried than they would normally be prior to this whole Lois Lerner affair.
Well, one of the things that bothers me the most about the IRS scandal, and there have been plenty of scandals to look at, but what makes this one, I think, qualitatively worse is that it is the agency that probably has the most direct power over individual American citizens. And what we have here is the one thing that I think the framers had hoped would never occur, namely that the government is set up one set of rules for itself, which is more lax and self-dealing, and one set of rules for you and me, the taxpayer. This is clearly and completely wrong.
You also talk about, and I don't think a lot of people understand this, the workers in the IRS, for the most part, are unionized.
Well, this is an interesting thing, and I think it's one of those facts that goes below the radar a lot. Not only in the IRS, where there are 200 employees who do not really do government IRS work, but they do union organizing work. If you looked across the whole spectrum of the federal government, it would not be hundreds, but it would be thousands of people who are paid by taxpayers to do union work, and that union work consists of lobbying the very government they work for in the Congress for more money, better benefits, better retirement, different working conditions, and more job security. So the taxpayer is paying people to work full-time to lobby the government to pay them more. What could be wrong with that picture?
$70 million in bonuses at the time that the IRS was beginning to come under scrutiny and under investigation. They paid their employees $70 million in bonuses.
This is another aspect of the federal government, not just in the IRS or not just in the Justice Department, but across the whole spectrum of the federal government that somebody should have a look at. This notion of bonuses for federal employees was put in as a way of rewarding very highly competent employees or employees who had done something particularly meritorious in terms of saving money or accomplishing some end. It has gotten to be more and more widely institutionalized, and the process by which the evaluations are done are absolutely ridiculous. And people are put in for bonuses almost across the board in some departments for things that no one in his right mind would give someone a bonus for.
Jeff, you don't paint a pretty picture at all. What should Congress do? They have it within their power to rein in severely and radically change the IRS.
Well, I had proposed in an earlier piece in the Weekly Standard that the Congress ought to condition funding this year, future funding for the IRS going forward on two different things. One, that the Obama administration would agree to sign legislation that the Congress passed putting into law the changes that he's made by executive order, which have been well beyond what an executive order should do. Secondly, that the IRS would not be funded until a special prosecutor is set up to look into its dealings. This is a very difficult thing, of course, because even if the House insisted on it, it's one of those issues that would bring the whole question of shutting down the federal government to the fore come next September. And I understand there are a lot of Republicans who
They don't want to rock the boat.
Don't want to rock the boat
Yeah.
because I think the boat is on a fairly good course at this point.
Well, maybe they'll rock it after they secure more passengers on their side of the,
Well, I
the
think
boat.
it's easier, though not entirely different, if the Senate is controlled by
Republican.
Republicans.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Jeff, we're up against the clock. Thank you so much, sir. Great piece, and appreciate you coming on.
You're very kind. Thank you.
Jeff Bergner, ladies and gentlemen, columnist at the Weekly Standard. We'll be back with more of the, what do they call, the Steve Malzberg Show. But I want you to stay tuned first for your Newsmax Now update.